Snoop Dogg has definitely made an impact as a musician. For The New York Times, he has successfully managed to overcome common stereotypes by experimenting and doing things out of his comfort zone, such as appearing in a show with acclaimed chef Martha Stewart and participating in commercials. His strategy in life is pretty simple. The easiest thing you can do is just do you. Yuoni PS5 review. The Golden Hour offers a compelling premise for horror. I felt like doing me would be the easiest path to me remaining relevant in the industry, he explained. Snoop Dogg didn't come from a privileged background. He worked hard to get where he is. The potency of this almost magical time of day stems from a belief that the veil of reality grows thinner. Some say miracles happen, but a fear factor also generates a different energy. Youni attempts to channel that energy, and much like the seen and unseen in The Golden Hour, the good and the bad come together in Yuoni to make something that oddly works just often enough. Yuoni PS5 review. Ghostly hide-and-seek romp is flawed, yet still worth checking out for horror fans. Urban legend Yuoni sees players taking on the role of I, a young high school girl with friends who tend to manipulate her with peer pressure. On this day, they coerce I to explore an old abandoned school, which is home to an urban myth regarding the spirit of a young boy who supposedly died there. If the ghost of the boy finds you, you have to play hide-and-seek with him. The added stipulation comes with finding the boy's doll and dropping it in a bucket of water, and if you can't accomplish this before he finds you, you die. According to biography. Naturally, your friends want to not only test the myth but bring in someone who seemingly lacks the moxie to handle a good scare. However, once each level begins, I finds herself all alone among the undead. It's unclear what happens to them, but it likely follows the Golden Hour theme and isolates I as someone more aware of spirits. From there, I must use every hiding place she can find in order to win this horrific game of hide and seek and survive. Executing with limitations. For me, good horror starts with smart oral presentation, especially when it comes to excluding sound. He proved that he had a natural inclination for music when he was a child. Snoop was skilled at playing the piano and would perform at his local church. Yuoni does not fall back on cheap jump scares that rely on sharp crescendos or incoming music. Instead, it exploits the sounds that your adversaries make, let that be footfalls, moans, or slams. These effects lack clean spatial surround sound to truly benefit from a headset, but they fulfill their obligation well enough. Making the best of things is commonplace in Yuoni, technically speaking. He started rapping when he was a school kid. He got fascinated by rap in the 6th grade and decided to experiment with it. While nobody knew it back then, Snoop would go on to become a globally revered musician, standing out for his unique style. Nothing in this game offers any sheen polishing or hyper-realistic visuals. Instead, Yuoni seemingly leans into its limitations by incorporating them into the gameplay. The first limitation comes in enemy design. For him, it was important to focus on creating high-quality music when he started working as a musician. A fair few of the featured enemies stand out, but the rest pass by without much of a thought. While it's undeniable that he has done really well for himself, Snoop Dogg has endured his share of struggles and heartbreak, tragic things that have shaped him as an individual. His father abandoned the family. Snoop Dogg, per biography, was born as Cortazar Calvin Broadus Jr. in Long Beach, California in October 1971. His mom was convinced that her son resembled one of the main characters from the Peanuts comic, Snoopy, which is how he got his nickname. In particular are the killer ghosts, which look like the silhouette of a dented thin man. They didn't have an easy life together. According to The Guardian, Snoop was mostly taken care of by his mom and stepdad. These enemies only invoke terror because they do the killing, but they chase you on invisible rails, or fixed pathways, and often stand in one spot for extended periods of time between attacks before moving again. I hated seeing Chris Walker pursue me on weird rails in Outlast, and I'm not too fussed about the similarities here, either. His biological father, Vernal Varnado, was a veteran from the Vietnam War who was hardly around for his family. Yuoni works better on this front because there are no open areas, so most pursuits, apart from larger rooms, end up being linear anyway. You ultimately forget about this most of the time because you either run from them or get knocked off the census by them. His son ended up seeking solace elsewhere and interacted with a notorious gang when he was a teenager. Other limitations help Yuoni's cause, but this one is more dull than game-breaking. Transparent enemies, which are challenging to describe, hooked my attention the most. He's been quoted as saying that the experience was like having a family of his own. While Varnado was eventually in touch with his son, things weren't completely okay between them. Their forms take up a kind of transparent space, and those spaces fill and empty with a patchwork foil-like texture. If you stop moving, the texture stops. If you look in just the right angle, these ghosts are practically invisible until you change your angle. Creative choices. I initially saw this as lazy design, since it looked weirdly photoshopped. For the spin, they have spoken about different memories of the same events from the past. Snoop's father would claim in interviews, "I picked Snoop up sometimes on the weekends. It was only about 15 miles from where I lived in LA. The longer I played, the more it began to deceive my eyes." This feels like minimal programming, but it also places more of the experience on you as the player. You can miss an enemy if you're not careful, but it can also feel boring if it doesn't occasionally fool you. All this on the fence talk starts and ends with the ghost of the young boy, soon. He appears bright red, and the frame rate of his animations mimics the pulses of a strobe light. His graphical abnormalities create a lot of mystery because, unless he says he found you, you never know if he actually sees you or not, and he doesn't always say he has, either. To help grease these mixed bag choices, you also can hold your breath. More often than not, enemies will have better hearing than sight, and this mechanic allows you to access many areas you probably shouldn't be able to. You hold your breath with R2, and mashing R1 and L1 allows you to strain your lungs to hold it for longer. This mechanic appears in other games too, but forcing you to mash two buttons here simulates that built-up tension from forcing yourself to not breathe. The downside to holding your breath is it lets you get away with some things you probably shouldn't be able to. So it was nothing for me to jump in the car, you know. On the other hand, Snoop Dogg said that he barely saw his dad. One time I all but bumped into a transparent enemy while holding my breath, and it didn't hear me at all, even my light footsteps. All in all, if you can commit to the way the game delivers this style of horror, then Yuoni is a game worth trying. A mixed bag for horror-hungry gamers. Yuoni is stuffed with oddball technical issues that never actually break the game. In fact, it manages to lean into them to interesting effect. Having said that, creative choices will make or break the experience. However, the musician didn't really hold that against Varnado and stayed friendly with him. Snoop Dogg went through troubling experiences. Snoop Dogg's childhood wasn't particularly normal. Per The Guardian, the musician spoke about his memories with the Crips gang from his teen years. "While I enjoyed Yuoni for what it offers, the oddities that just don't work cannot be ignored. Still, Yuoni is one of those games that I believe will improve with the passage of time, and there's enough enjoyment here to make it worth any horror fan's time." Review code kindly provided by publisher. Yuoni releases on PS4, PS5, and PC August 19, 2021. 7 Yuoni takes the hide-and-seek formula and adds a few new concepts to it. Not everything works as well as the others, particularly the design of some of the common enemies and their movements. When you in the hood, joining a gang, it's cool because all your friends are in the gang, all your family's in the gang. However, it makes some thoughtful creative choices and takes chances with them to make something that at least horror fans should try out. "We're not just killing people every night, we're just hanging out," he said. Also, per the Los Angeles Times, Snoop Dogg had to help out by taking up odd jobs such as delivering newspapers and selling candy to keep his family afloat financially. At one point, he got into serious trouble when he was arrested by the police for possession of cocaine. Yuoni is far from perfect, but it still holds its own merit. Snoop Dogg did regret some of his actions later and said, "I want to stress something to the little kids out there. There ain't nothing cool about selling dope." He added that he ended up selling drugs because he perceived it to be cool. Nothing came out of it and he had to spend time in jail. The charges resulted in a 6-month sentence in jail where the aspiring musician killed time by amusing his peers with rap. His fellow inmates noticed his love for music and said to him, "You need to be outside, not wasting your life away with crime." The musician was misrepresented as a musician. Snoop Dogg didn't quite know what to expect when he first got into the industry.
Things were more chaotic than he anticipated at the time. According to the Los Angeles Times, he did some shoots with a pistol for magazines, something that he didn't think about as a young musician. He recalled, "The photographers would tell me, 'Hey, man, take a picture with a gun and you'll look real hard.' And that's what I did. However, he pointed out that he decided to change his ways later and learned from his experiences. Also, his friends mentioned that he didn't let his fame get to him and was down to earth despite becoming a household name. In fact, he would often visit his old friends and acquaintances without a second thought. He wasn't as tough as he seemed either. Per Rolling Stone, when the musician started working on a gig that involved coaching young football players, he teared up when the team lost one of their games. Snoop said, "I mean, I really cried at the end of the game, tears in my eyes. I was that hurt." Snoop Dogg got caught up in a murder case. Snoop Dogg ended up tackling an unexpected controversy in the 1990s. According to the Washington Post, he was a part of a murder investigation. Snoop and his ex-bodyguard, McKinley Lee, were involved in a case that revolved around a 1993 shooting of a man named Philip Woldemariam. It was a scary time for the musician, who wondered whether he would be with his family again. In the book, The Dogfather: The Times, Trials, and Hardcore Truths of Snoop Dogg, the musician said that he had to live with uncertainty for 3 years before the case reached its conclusion. He also said that it was only about self-defense at the time and there was nothing else to the tale. Snoop Dogg wrote that the prosecution was determined to come up with an entirely different story. In the end, he was given the clean chit by the court in 1996. Snoop was 24 years old by the time he was declared not guilty. When the verdict was announced, Snoop Dogg said, "I have been praying to God for this." Meanwhile, Lee expressed gratitude after being declared not guilty. He said, "I feel great. I just thank God for this." The case definitely affected Snoop. He spoke to Fat Man Scoop in an Instagram chat in 2021 and said that he changed his writing style after the court case and avoided rapping about death via Revolt TV. Basically, he didn't want to glorify death anymore because his perspective had been altered significantly. He lost close friends for Snoop Dogg. Some of his toughest experiences involved his friends. He lost fellow musician, Tupac Shakur, in 1996. According to The Independent, the musician found a way to honor his friend and got him a spot in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017. Snoop also posted an Instagram video clip in 2019 with the caption, 2AMW, a reference to their song called Two of America's Most Wanted. Per the book, The Dogfather: The Times, Trials, and Hardcore Truths of Snoop Dogg, Tupac Shakur was really close to Snoop, who considered him to be closer than a brother. He added, "Sometimes, if you're lucky, someone comes into your life who'll take up a place in your heart that no one else can fill. Someone who's tighter than a twin, more with you than your own shadow." Also, according to Jet magazine, it was Tupac Shakur who convinced his friend to focus on his marriage and give it another shot when he was confused about his relationship. Snoop called him a true friend. Snoop suffered another heartbreak in 2021 when he lost his friend, hip-hop musician DMX. According to a Billboard piece, DMX was 50 years old at the time of his death. He participated in a memorable rap battle with Snoop in 2020. Remembering the battle, Snoop told Jimmy Fallon on The Tonight Show that their fans got a chance to see two dogs that naturally loved each other celebrate each other under the name of hip-hop. Snoop Dogg's marriage was a rollercoaster. Snoop Dogg did not have the easiest relationship with his wife, Shantae. According to E! The couple started dating when they were teenagers. They decided to tie the knot in 1997, years after they started seeing each other. They faced a rough patch in 2004 and nearly got divorced, but Snoop realized that he couldn't do without his wife and children. He got rid of the divorce papers and went back home. Snoop was quoted as saying, "I made a mistake, so I'm trying to get back right." He also told MTV, "I was trying to get a divorce, but I went back home and I fell back in love with my wife and kids. A lot of times you get cloudy." He added that the music industry is a rough place and can distract a person from what's truly important. According to Jet magazine, Snoop believes that being with his family has been really good for him and considers Shantae to be his closest confidant, someone who knows his deepest and darkest secrets, and roots for him anyway. Also, she helped out Snoop by taking on managerial duties and looking after her husband's business. Snoop said, "She has my back. It's cool having someone you can trust 100%. His daughter had serious health issues. Life has been tough for Snoop's daughter, Corey Broaddus. According to People, she chose to open up about her health troubles in a moving Instagram video in May 2021. Corey shared many details from her past, finding out that she had lupus when she was a child and struggling to come to terms with it. She said that when she was younger, she couldn't understand why she was in so much pain. Also, she was not a stranger to bullying in school. Corey spoke about her father and said, "Just because my dad is who he is doesn't mean I don't get sad. That doesn't mean that I don't want things or that I don't feel a way." Corey added that she has lived with depression for years and found herself in a bad place after her boyfriend got into an accident. Corey isolated herself and nearly died while trying to deal with her demons. Paramedics rescued her and she is now working on her recovery. She added that suicide isn't worth it and it's important to collectively work on our mental health. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK, 8255. Additionally, if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please contact the crisis text line by texting HOME to 741,741. Call the National Alliance on Mental Illness helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI, 6264, or visit the National Institute of Mental Health website. He lost his grandchild. Snoop Dogg suffered a massive personal loss in 2019. His grandson, Kai Love, died a few days after he was born. According to Snoop's son, Cord Broadus, wrote about the incident on Instagram. His caption read, "My son Kai brought so much love and positivity into this world. His energy will live on and these 10 days of love will always be special to us. Let's all cherish life and those we love while we are here. Thank you." Cord also posted a couple of videos of Kai with his family and said in a comment that his son was in his arms when he died. According to CNN, several family members wrote about the tragic loss on their social media accounts as well. Snoop Dogg didn't talk about Kai in public, though. Additionally, the family chose to not speak about what led to Kai's death. He was sent to prison several times. Snoop Dogg has been in and out of prison on many occasions. In his book, The Dogfather: The Times, Trials, and Hardcore Truths of Snoop Dogg, he mentioned that he had been treated unfairly in the past and was stuck within the criminal justice system. "The first time I was locked up wasn't the last time, and even if I knew then what I know now, I can't promise you things would be a whole lot different," Snoop said. He went on to write about facing racial discrimination in his youth. Snoop said, "Being black in this country means serving time, one way or the other, and that's a sad fact." He admitted that he could see how he ended up in jail when he was younger. That said, he was never comfortable with it and wanted to do better for himself. He eventually understood that petty crime wasn't worth it and wasn't even going to pay his bills at any point. Also, Snoop's mom knew that her son wasn't in good company and did her best to make him leave his old habits behind. She told him how disappointed she was with his actions. He's had a long history with drugs. Snoop Dogg has been associated with drugs for many years. In 2012, he was reportedly banned from entering Norway. According to a BBC report, the country decided to stop the musician from visiting for 2 years after he was caught with cannabis at Kristiansand Airport. His lawyer said that Snoop wasn't planning to challenge the ban. That same year, police officials arrested him in Texas after they discovered cannabis on his tour bus. Per the Rolling Stone, the drugs were unearthed in a waste paper basket. While Snoop had a medical prescription for cannabis in California, of course, that didn't work for officials in Texas. And in 2015, Snoop Dogg was questioned by cops in Sweden who believed that he was under the influence, via The Guardian. A local police officer said, police carrying out roadside controls noticed that Snoop Dogg, whose car was pulled over, seemed to be under the influence of narcotics. They decided to take him to a police station for a drug test. Snoop wasn't pleased. Per Time, he took to social media to voice his discontent and claimed that the tests revealed nothing, insisting that he was subjected to racial discrimination. If you or anyone you know is struggling with addiction issues, help is available. Visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration website or contact SAMHSA's National Helpline at 1-800-662-HELP, 4357. His mom was dealing with health troubles in July 2021. Snoop Dogg posted a rare update about his mom's health on Instagram.
The caption read, "Happy Sunday. Me and my brothers went to see Mama today and she opened up her eyes to see us and let us know she's still fighting." It was accompanied by a photo of the musician's mom on a hospital bed, surrounded by her loved ones. Snoop also thanked his fans for their prayers and said that the family was taking things one day at a time. Per People, he first wrote about his mom's condition in May and requested his fans to send prayers for her health. He didn't reveal any more details. Sadly, the musician lost his mom on October 25, 2021. He put up several posts that were dedicated to his mom on Instagram. He wrote in one of the captions, "Mama, thank you for having me." He also put up a photo of his mom and said that he was grateful for having an angel for a mother. Additionally, the heartbroken singer added an image with the words, "Till we meet again."